Hello there, my name's Martin Henley. This is the Effective Marketing Content Extravaganza. Now, if you've spent a second here, you'll know that I'm on a mission to give you everything you need to be successful in your business, providing that is what you need to be successful in your business is to be more effective with your sales and marketing. So I am here giving you everything I know about sales and marketing. I'm pulling in anyone I can find to share everything they know about sales and marketing. We are looking at the marketing news every other week, and we are watching the very best and the very worst of marketing content on the internet and reacting, which is what today is about. So if you were here on Tuesday, Wednesday, you will know that Jim wasn't happy with the Jeopardy aspect, with the video, the content that Random Process threw up, which was business secrets from the Bible. So there is no Jeopardy here today. To restore Jeopardy for future episodes, I need to react now to this video, Business Secrets from the Bible. Do I have a view? I'm not a religious person, but I don't celebrate being unreligious. I know religious people. I see that they take great comfort from being religious. It gives them direction in their lives. It's comfort, I think, that religion gives people. And I'm kind of a little bit, what's the word? Am I jealous? I don't know. I would like to have that degree of confidence, that degree of comfort, that degree of support. You know, church communities are all great. Now, I do accept that there have been terrible people within religions who have done terrible things, but I don't think that counts for the majority of people in religion, and I don't think that actually is grounds for not being religious necessarily. I think if you have some kind of spiritual faith, then I have every faith in you to make the right decisions for yourself. That's where I stand on religion. So I don't have a view on this. Did I read the Bible? I might have read the Bible when I was a very young child. I might have had the Bible read to me when I was a very young child, but not very much. I had a quite religious grandmother. I know that when we went to stay with her, we were expected to pray, etc. But I'm not a religious person. I don't have religious faith. So I don't really know what's coming, to be honest with you, which is exactly how it should be. Okay, so let's have a look at this video. Let's see what the business secrets of the Bible are.
What is it about Jewish people that make them prosper financially? Well, you'll almost never...
Are you allowed to say that? I didn't know you were allowed to say that. I don't think you're allowed to, I mean, I suppose it's a positive thing, so it's not racist. Like, what is it that... Okay. I wonder if this guy's Jewish. I don't know. This video's had 2.17 million views. The channel's had 201 million views. It's not something I'm familiar with, the 700 Club. I didn't know you were allowed to say that.
Find Jews tinkering with their cars on the weekends or mowing their lawns. That's what Daniel Lapin says. And there's a very good reason for that. And it lies within the business secrets of the Bible. Take a look.
Most everyone would like to have more wealth and prosperity. Few, however, manage to attain it. Rabbi Daniel Lapin is known as America's rabbi. He says financial success is the result of doing the right things. In his new book, Business Secrets from the Bible, Rabbi Lapin uses simple concepts to help increase income regardless of your faith. He'll change the way you think about money and help you make more of it.
To say he's my favorite rabbi would be an understatement, but he's here with us again. It's a pleasure to introduce once again to the 700 Club audience, Rabbi Daniel Lapin. Daniel, good to see you.
Fantastic to be together with you again, Pat. Thank you.
You've written a lot.
The production values here are insane, aren't they? It looks like a tonight, like a late night chat show kind of thing. I'm not particularly convinced by the I think that's canned clapping.
It's a pleasure
but the
to
look is
introduce
amazing.
once again to the 700 Club audience, Rabbi Daniel Lapin. Daniel, good to see you.
Fantastic to be together with you again, Pat. Thank you.
You've written a landmark book. It really
is
a fabulous book. It's called Business Secrets in the Bible.
Not shy. You've written a landmark book. Yes, I have.
Well, how come Jewish people don't mow their own lawns on Saturdays?
Well, it really comes from the end of the book of Genesis, where Jacob's 147 years old and time is going by, and finally he's about to be taken home to his Father in heaven. And you'd think that, you know, after a long and difficult life, he'd gather his sons together and he'd say, "Boys, God bless you, I'm gone." Instead, he takes 20, 30 verses, giving a Reuben, this is your blessing. Simon, this is your blessing. Judah, this is your blessing. In other words, he's laying the foundation of specialization. You're not just one big clump of people. Each one of you is going to find the area in which you can best serve your brethren. And this idea, which wasn't found in general economics until the 18th century, Adam Smith realized the principle of specialization, lies deeply embedded in ancient Jewish wisdom's understanding of the Bible.
In other words, somebody's got to cook the bread, somebody's got to make the machine, somebody has to sew the cloth. They can't all do it together.
Exactly, and it's even more than that, because if we each take care of our own needs, then we don't need one another. But since we specialize as part of God's plan, the result of that is that I pray for the welfare of my customers, I pray for the welfare of my vendors, I pray for the welfare of the people who work for me, because we're all wrapped up in this web of interdependency, which is exactly what our Father in heaven wants us to be doing. So naturally, when you correctly said you won't, in Jewish neighborhoods, you do not find Jews lying under their cars on Sunday afternoon. No, I pay one of the best mechanics around to take care of my BMW. That's what I do. I'd be
I really like this guy. Okay, so how am I feeling? I'm feeling like, okay, so the answer or the suggestion is specialization or focus, which we all know we should be doing, but we're not particularly good at it. So I am a little bit like this. I'm useless. I am absolutely useless at anything mechanical. I think it cost me a relationship one time because she asked me if I could fix the washing machine. And I'm like, absolutely categorically not. I can't do that. I might have been able to have a go, but I'm really bad at anything really practical. So I kind of do this. I don't do it because I've read the Bible. I didn't know. I mean, so it starts off sounding quite tenuous. This is part of God's plan. And it sounds to me like, I don't know, how does it sound? It sounds to me like we don't have any say in that. So that doesn't sit particularly comfortable with me. I like to feel like I have free will. You know, who knows if we do or not in 2022. But then he's saying that actually community comes from this. And I think this is one of the things in religion that's really valuable, is this sense of community, this sense of, like, what I think atheists miss is the utility of religion. They don't see that actually religion gives you a purpose, gives you something to get out of bed for all day, every day. You know, and I think we really miss that in Western culture. Like now, near where I grew up, like quite famously, mothers are getting out of bed and taking their kids to school in their night clothes, in their pajamas or their dressing gown or whatever it is they do. They're not bothering to get dressed. Well, I don't see that happening in religious communities. So what's the point of this? I've just got on a ramble about the utility of religion. I think it's a really, really useful thing. Apart from anything else, I'm not denigrating any of the other value of it, but I think being religious, having religious faith is a really useful thing. I like this guy. I like the idea of specialization. I like the idea, more than that, of supporting each other in a community and wanting other people to do well, praying for other people, because you've got that interdependency. I like that. I expected it to be more about like an individualism, because that's what I don't like about capitalism. And I think, you know, that I don't know if I'm allowed to say it or not allowed to say it, but Jews do well in capitalism. You know, they do well financially. They have successful businesses. We should learn why, instead of listening to me try and get myself into trouble talking about things I don't know anything about, or have anything particular to say about.
Crazy to take my time doing it myself.
Diamonds, not fixing cars.
Exactly. I'm taking care of what I can do best, and then I'm happy to pay him. Or for me to mow my lawn. I'm the worst lawn mower in the world. Yeah. But the young man who lives down the street from me, he's one of the best. And he's happy to do it. I'm happy. And so it's really important that each one of us finds our highest and best way to serve our fellow human beings, which is another way of taking care of God's other children. And that's why we speak of customer service and worship service, because one of the ways of worshiping our Creator is by taking care of his other children.
Is that one?
I love that we should be taking better care of each other. We should be. We absolutely should be. I'm conflicted. Because it started off saying we all want to be more wealthy, I think that's a sickness in our society, that we don't need to be more wealthy. You know, we need to take care of everything we need to take care of, and then we should start taking care of people around us. I think that's, is he going to say this now? Is he going to talk about tithes and things? I don't know.
One of the principles of Jewish finances to look after your customers and to be
one
polite.
of the great secrets, and again, I present 40 secrets in this book, which is, it's not a book about investing, because investing, you really got to have some money. It's not a book of getting out of debt, because you want to get out of debt, you speak to my friend Dave Ramsey. But this is about making more money. This is about saying, you know what, this year, I want to make twice as much money as I made last year. Not 100 times, not 50 times, twice as much.
Is that a biblical concept, making money?
Making money?
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. Right. If a young person came to you and said, look, I can't decide what to do. I either want to go into politics, actually they don't say that, I want to go into public service. I always distrust occupations that need a euphemism. Have you noticed?
Right.
Public service, or I'd like to go into business and make a lot of money. Who is better for America? Who's better for you? Who's better for me? When somebody tells me he wants to go into public service or politics, I think to myself, 10 more fingers in my wallet. But when somebody tells me I want to go into business, then the only way he can succeed in business, or she, is by making products or services that enhance my life. And that's why I say, yes, I'm not going to say God wants you to be rich, but God wants you to be striving for more money. Money is a spiritual creation of our Creator. It's not something that just came about.
You said something here too.
I don't think money is a spiritual creation of the Creator. I don't know. This is where the religious aspect is going to stretch me. I'm not prepared to accept that. Okay, let's give it a chance.
So what surprised most people is that cities are really a creation of God, that men had to get together in cities. Why was that?
Well, that's exactly right. We find that after Cain kills Abel, God gives him the punishment of isolation from people, basically. You're always going to have to keep traveling, and things you plant won't grow. And finally he realizes, and so he names his son Enoch. And so he took one life, he shows that he's atoned, he shows God that he understands, he brings a new life into the world, Enoch. In Hebrew, in the Lord's language, Enoch means I'm educated, education. I've got it, I caught on what I did wrong. And now he builds a city, what, for 3 human beings? Well, that's not the point. You know, build it and they'll come. A city is a glorious place. A city is where you've got the best of everything. Sadly, you can also have the worst of everything. If you build your city without God in a godless manner, you'll have massive problems. But a city built basically as people like Cotton Mather and some of the great Christian leaders of colonial America, the city on the hill. If it's that kind of a city, a godly city, it's a city where everybody can make more money than they can anywhere else.
You find these principles in Hebrews. I know you one thing in your book, you talk about, of course, the word for hand is yad, and you said a friend is yad.
Yes, of course.
Well, tell us about that.
Well, what's interesting about that is that it's curious how throughout Western civilization, and Western civilization sprang from the pages of the Bible. I mean, obviously, what we think of as the West is the creation of God's book, basically God's message to mankind.
Right.
And it's funny that the symbol or action of friendship is shaking hands.
Right.
Why isn't it rubbing elbows or, you know,
noses.
Oh, noses. Yeah, I mean, like, what's with hands? And one of the fallacious explanations, which I've debunked, is that, oh, this is because when people used to meet on the road, if they shook hands with one another, then they couldn't be reaching for their sword. Well, all I know is I can handle a knife with my left hand as well. Wouldn't that be a surprise for the guy whose right hand I'm holding while I take him out with my left hand? It's nonsense, complete nonsense. No, the reason is because in the Lord's language, which people used to all know, I mean, Hebrew was widely understood. And everyone, that's why I say today everyone needs a rabbi, right? Because not everyone knows Hebrew. I've got to sort of help people along a little bit. But when they did, the idea of in Hebrew is one of the great words in Hebrew for a friend is yedid, which is spelt hand. The 2 Hebrew words, basically 2 hands clasping becomes, and to this day, it's the picture of clasped hands is a symbol of friendship.
What else? Where did the word money come from? Is that a Hebrew word, money?
The word money itself?
Yeah.
Well, yes. The Hebrew word is counting, and that money is the Hebrew word for
money is counting.
Is counting. And what do you? If you say to anybody, counting, what do you count? The first thing you think
Money.
of, I think, is you count money.
Well, you mentioned in your book that people had to keep accounts, that if you're going to succeed, you've got to know where your money is.
Oh, look, I mean, if you want to lose weight, or if you've got to keep a record, you've got to measure your weight and keep records. If you want to become biblical in your money, and I really do. I mean, when I travel to churches, Pat, I got to tell you, my heart breaks when I speak at 30, 40 churches a year. Mm-hmm. Every now and then I come to a church where I see deferred maintenance. I see a stressed out pastor who hasn't been able to pay the mortgage. I see members of the church who just not, for me, it's the greatest blessing. It's what my ministry is all about, to bring them business secrets from the Bible, so that when I come back a year later, I see it.
I'm aware that I'm not saying much. I don't know how to react, really. I don't know if for everything that kind of challenges me, there's something that I really agree with. 100%. You want to lose weight, you want to get fit, you want to do well in your business. It's really about tracking your progress. Like, that is how you get motivated and stay motivated. I've lost weight 3 or 4 times. I've lost 2 or 3 stone 3 or 4 times. And I know the way you do it is by getting religious about what you're doing. Like, literally count what goes into your mouth, be on the scales every single day, get fanatically, be recording fanatically, because then if you're making progress, you see your progress and you stay motivated. So that 100% that. The thing that is challenging me here is that I don't know, does God really want us to be so fanatical about money? Does he really? I don't know. I don't know. But clearly, I'm not challenging what they're saying, but clearly a lot of what we understand about the way you do business comes from Judaism and comes from Hebrew, maybe. So it's interesting to know that maybe this is the root of the kind of society that we live in now.
Different institution, a totally different church.
The whole idea of knowing how to...
The hand-in-hand thing for friends, I think that's beautiful, like holding each other, supporting each other. I really like this. I don't know if this is really the sort of content I expected to be put in on my channel, but here we go.
To do balance sheet accounting, or
you don't have to become a CPA, but you do need to be able to understand financial statements, and it's easy to do. You just got to be able to do it.
But that's a key. I mean, the Jewish person from the Bible would always know how to count his money and know where it was.
Not only that, but the Hebrew words for counting,
yes,
not only means money in the case of money, but each of the 4 Hebrew words that mean counting also mean successful person of accomplishment.
Tell me about those. The successful person?
Yeah. In Hebrew, there's a word poked, or how about a word noseh, means to count, but it's also the same word in the book of Numbers where Moses appoints the princes for each tribe. That's exactly the same word, the princes. So in other words, people of accomplishment, people of achievement, people of aristocratic bearing are all people who can count. And that's true in everything. I mean, you've got to be able to measure your achievement, because if you don't, the days pass and nothing gets accomplished.
That was certainly true.
100%. That's true. I mean, it's interesting to me how ingrained in the making of money, or how ingrained the making of money is in this culture. That's interesting to me. Where's he gone now? Business stories.
With John D. Rockefeller, he was basically an accountant. He kept exquisite books. Every penny he spent, everything he gave away, down to the last dime, he had it all written in a book of accounts.
Yeah, people laugh at that, and he may have been a little extreme, but then his wealth was also extreme.
He came to the richest man in the world.
Yes,
so
exactly right. But for most of us, the other extreme is more common, where there's no record keeping and no meticulous accounting for our time, for our money, for our achievements. It's important.
And that accounts for failure, doesn't it?
And that's one of the secrets, is keeping records, not only financial, but also life records, a journal.
There's no word in Hebrew for retirement.
I told you that, and I'm very pleased. Last time we were together, I told you there's no Hebrew word for retirement. And the general rule is that when there's no Hebrew word for something, it's a bad idea. So, for instance, there's no Hebrew word for adolescent. Because when you think about it, an adolescent's just somebody who wants all the privileges of adulthood with none of the responsibilities, right? So no word for adolescent, no word for retire. And I'm very happy to see that you've taken that lesson to heart.
Totally to heart, man. I just can't, they won't let me retire. I'm trying, but they won't let me.
Absolutely out of the question.
But there's no word in Hebrew for it.
No, there isn't, because it's a bad concept.
Well, what have we done in our country? We have violated that totally. People, we've got to pay them when they're 65 years old.
Well, we violated a lot of things in this country. I mean, right now, for instance, there is the implication that if you've made money, there's something morally suspect about you. That somehow making money is a bad thing. There's another word in Hebrew doesn't exist, the word fair. Because you'll hear politicians saying, well, he's rich, he hasn't paid his fair share. The funny thing about fair is it's not defined.
That's right.
I would think that when many politicians say, we want people to pay their fair tax, they probably mean 100%.
That's right. There isn't anything short of that.
You know, fair doesn't mean anything at all.
Yeah.
Fair is whatever I choose to want it to mean.
But there's no word in Hebrew for fair?
No word for fair. Yeah.
Why not?
There's words for justice.
Yes.
Because in the Bible and in biblical thinking, agreements and contracts are sacrosanct. They're very important. If we shake hands on something, that is an agreement. But we'd never say, Pat, I got an idea. Why don't we go into business together and we'll have a fair, equitable distribution of the profits? No, we don't do that. We say, here's what it's going to be. It's going to be 50% and 50%, or it's going to be 43% and 57%. But we don't just use loose and ill-defined concepts, because that creates bad arrangements, bad relationships.
What is another key?
Okay, so interesting, because I would have, if you'd made me guess on the way in, I'd have said it's going to be about hard work and yeah, maybe focus is what they're saying now. There's nothing, I don't really believe, I think we'd all be happier, the world would function better if it was more equitable, in that we all worked for what we needed, and then when we had what we needed, we stopped working. I think that would be better for the environment. I think that would be better for people. I think that would be better all the way around. So this fascination with money, I don't get it. But I do agree that if you want to be successful in business, you can't have baggy situations. You can't have uncertainty. You need to take as much control as you possibly can. And this measuring thing also rings true, I think, because people don't. I mean, when I'm working for a client, then everything is measured to the nth degree. Everyone knows exactly what's going on, when it's gone on, what's happened, what the result has been, etc., etc., etc. But I don't manage my own time like that. Like if I'm not working for a client, I don't think about all of those things. So yeah, laser focus. I'm agreeing. I think there's 4 or 5 principles. Let's see if I can bring them out at the end. It's really interesting.
Principle of wealth that you found in the Bible?
Well, one of the great ones that has always served the Jewish people very successfully and very, very well. And I mean, I'm not saying there's no poor Jews, but Jews are disproportionately financially effective. And I wanted to bring 40 of the most important secrets from the Bible to everybody. One that's beautiful is in the 2nd book of Kings. The prophet Elisha is approached by a widow who has nothing, and absolutely nothing. And he says to her, listen, you've got to go back and search in your house. She says, I've got nothing. How many times do I have to tell you? He says, you've got to find something. So she finds one teensy-weensy little jar of oil.
Right.
And then he says, okay, this is going to work. And she says, now go borrow 50-gallon oil drums from everybody, thousands of them, right? And she becomes the first oil tycoon in the Middle East. Now, this is a miracle. Yeah, it's an absolute miracle.
That's right.
Once it's a miracle, why couldn't Elisha have poured oil out of his thumb? I mean, God can fill thousands of barrels of oil from a thumb just as easily as from a little bottle of oil. Yet he made this poor widow go back and search until she found, because each and every one of us has a bottle of oil inside her. We have that tiny little reserve we overlook, something we think is insignificant. She said, I got nothing. He said, go back and search. Little bottle of oil. Oh, that's very significant. You got to have something inside you. Every one of us has that little spark of potential. That's why it's oil. Oil contains energy. God packed chemical energy into oil. We've got that inside every one of us. That is the kickstart of our own economic miracles.
What is the modern state doing to violate God's
I
principle?
want to say something about that. What do I want to say? I don't even know what I want to say. It's like this is kind of like at the core, I think, of conservative belief is that we all have this potential and we all should realize this potential. And almost, I think what conservatives believe is that if you're not given the freedom, i.e. you are too restricted to realize your potential from that little bottle of oil inside all of us, then it's not. Then that's the worst thing that can possibly happen. Like that being denied the opportunity to be successful is the worst thing that can happen. And they think you're denied the opportunity to be successful because of a government intervention, etc., etc. So what about people who don't have the opportunity to realize that that potential? That's the only issue I have with it. I mean, I suppose the thing I'm thinking is that if you don't realize that, then you're not contributing to society. These guys would say, it's you should contribute to society.
And destroying itself in the process. What are they doing?
You have an hour or two to spend on that?
Well, let's make believe you're Adam Smith and you wrote your book in 2 pages. What?
A number of things. One of them, of course, is increasing the size of government and increasing taxation. Essentially, that turns people into slaves. Ultimately, the Marxist vision is slavery.
I called it.
You work for us, you give everything to us, and we take care of everything. We take care of your children's education, we take care of your retirement, we take care of your health care. Oh, wait a sec, we're already there. That's exactly what they're doing.
And they also think they can borrow. What about borrowing? What does the Bible have to say about that?
Needless to say, a very bad way to go about doing business. It's a very bad way to try and build a sustainable economy, whether it's an individual or a family or a nation. The borrowing is immoral. It's essentially taking from people who are not yet born. But then many of the people who are doing that are really fairly comfortable with taking a lot of things from the unborn,
Sure.
Including their lives.
Is this book available?
That book is absolutely available.
Where can one get copies?
You can get them anywhere that books are sold. You can also, my website, which can be found on your website, is youneedarabbi.com.
All right,
it's available there as well.
It's a fantastic book. You ought to get it if you want to learn how to keep money, make money, and do the biblical way. It's called Business Secrets of the Bible, and Daniel Lapin.
Okay, cool. Interesting. Really interesting. So, what do I think? I mean, there's clearly some very useful lessons there. Specialize. Don't spend your time doing stuff that you're not good at if it's more cost effective, or even if it's not more cost effective, to use a specialist to come and do it for you and support your community, and be dependent on each other. I absolutely love that. The second one, I think, was about, this idea of measuring. They spoke about it a lot. Like, if you want to be successful at getting healthy, at losing weight, at running your business, at maybe having financial success in your life, 100%, you need to get fanatical about measuring everything that happens. And when you do that, it's really quite interesting. When you do that, it all just starts to work, because of course it does. Because the only reason it doesn't work potentially is because you're not actually paying attention to what's going on. Once you know what was going on, then you're empowered to actually act and do what you need to do to make it better. And when you see the numbers getting better, then you get excited, then you get motivated, and then you're on a roll, and then you will be more successful. So there was that. This idea of money coming from Judaism or coming from the Hebrew language, that's kind of interesting. I just wish we could. I don't believe in wealth for wealth's sake. Like when they said about like people who are successful are kind of frowned upon or seen that they're doing something wrong. I do think the richest people I've ever met in my life have been complete arseholes. You know, and this maybe this exposes my Marxist tendency, which is I do think that extreme wealth comes from exploitation. I think maybe even high wealth, comes from exploitation. You're exploiting people, you're exploiting situations, you're exploiting resources. Like necessarily that's where it comes from. And that's what Marx was talking about. And Marx didn't say anything about taxation. He didn't say any of those things. Marx literally wrote a critique of capitalism, and that's all it was. These guys obviously hugely conservative, and that's why they hold those views and, views about reproductive rights, etc. Don't agree with any of that. If the focus, measure, specialize, these are things that you can take away from this if you want to be more financially successful, or you want to be successful in your business. I want you to be successful in your business, but where I would draw the line is that don't make money you don't need to make. Go and enjoy your life, your family, your children, all of those things. Let's have a look, because we do like to have a look at what's going on in the comments. So comments are turned off. There are no comments. Okay, good. Well, that saves us a job. Okay, good. So this has been interesting and useful. The reason I do this is because there's content I should be aware of that I'm not aware of unless it goes on the clay list. When it goes on the clay list, then I react to it. This was an interesting one. I would never have searched business secrets from the Bible. But if nothing else, it serves as a reminder. Do those things. Specialize, measure, get focused, support your community, really take an interest in your customers. That's the one that maybe I missed. Really care about your customers, really deliver value for your customers. These are all things that you should be doing if you want to be successful in your business. Okay, good. Thank you for being here again. You will see me again very shortly. You lucky sausages.